Welcome, everyone, to Overcoming Perfectionism. Thank you all for joining me today. If we haven't met yet, my name is Laura Summers. I'm a certified integrative life coach, speaker, and trainer. I've known many people who've considered themselves perfectionists, and I'm happy to report that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm motivated to help you achieve a healthier set of standards, to explore a new mindset, and ultimately to find freedom from the expectations of perfectionism. Perfectionism can be difficult to define. The pursuit of perfectionism in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, there's a dark side involving self-defeating thoughts and behaviors. So while being perfect is often associated with a positive trait, Brene Brown, a professor at the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work, says, perfectionism is not the same thing as striving to be your best. Perfection is not about healthy achievement and growth. Most people strive for perfection from time to time in certain areas of life. However, to be considered a perfectionist, there are a number of qualities often associated with a person's attempt to be perfect. Some examples of perfectionism might include spending 30 minutes writing and rewriting a 2-sentence email, believing that missing 2 points on a test is a sign of failure, difficulty being happy for others who are successful, holding oneself to the standards of others' accomplishments, or comparing oneself unfavorably and unrealistic to other people. Focusing on the end product rather than the process of learning, and believing that anything less than a perfect or ideal outcome is just not worth achieving. Perfectionism is considered to be a personality disposition in terms of psychology. Extremely high performance standards and a compulsion to strive for flawlessness are common among perfectionists. When these behaviors are exaggerated, perfection can become destructive. To set unattainable or unrealistic goals, the only possible outcome is failure, and that leads to low self-esteem and depression. According to Psychology Today, there are 3 types of perfectionism. Self-oriented, and this type of perfectionist is driven by the need to avoid personal failure by setting rigid standards for themselves. Other-oriented, this type of perfectionist is overly judgmental and critical of others, setting unrealistic expectations on their spouses, their children, their friends, and even their coworkers. And socially prescribed. This type of perfectionist believes that they can never measure up to the high standards that are set for them by other people. Perfectionists are synonymous with a number of specific traits. Some are positive, some are negative. Some positive traits associated with perfectionists are reliable, responsible, dedicated, driven, and persistent. But some of the negative traits associated with perfectionists are critical, unrealistic, approval-seeking, prone to depression, and anxious. The problem with perfectionism is feeling as though you never measure up. The ideals perfectionists hold themselves to does not match the reality of what is truly possible. Perfectionism is an issue when various aspects of life become consumed. Many perfectionists develop crippling fears which lead to the refusal even to try anything, simply just because of the fear of failure is so great. Whether it be their struggle with acceptance leading to failure or the fear of failure itself, perfectionists get stuck in a vicious circle of failure, lowered self-esteem, depression, and even feelings of despair. There are various factors contributing to the development of perfectionism. However, perfection often stems from childhood as a learned behavior. Perfectionism may be encouraged in children by parents who are driving a child too hard to succeed and expressing disapproval when their children's efforts do not result in perfection. Additionally, children of parents who are perfectionists perfectionistic are more likely to become perfectionists themselves. The feelings of overwhelming pressure to live up to achievements can lead to perfectionistic behavior. Overpraise for accomplishments may also lead to feelings of pressure to continue achieving, which usually then leads to perfectionism. Research increasingly shows that perfection is highly correlated with anxiety, depression, and stress. Because of the nature of perfectionists, they are less likely to share their pain with others, as doing so would mean that their appearance is less than perfect. And as I said earlier, anxiety, depression, those can be very serious conditions that result from perfectionism. These conditions need some form of treatment. When untreated, other conditions can develop, and those conditions can include relationship issues, eating disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders. In some cases of unhealthy perfectionism, obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, can be linked when there is a strong need for things to be done just right. In these cases, it's a common belief that if the compulsion is carried out perfectly, a feared outcome will not take place. OCD perfectionism may perpetuate and reinforce obsessions as well. We all exhibit a certain amount of perfectionism. However, as we've just seen, perfectionist behavior also have a dark side. If you're a moderate perfectionist, watch out for the following signs which can increase and bring you to a harmful level. Those signs can include, you know your drive to perfection is hurting you, but you consider it the price you have to pay for success. Or you're a full-time procrastinator, and you tend to be highly critical of others. Maybe you do things in the extreme, or you struggle with purely black and white thinking, or you have a hard time opening up to other people. Maybe you take everything personally, or you're overly defensive when criticized. Maybe you're never quite there yet. Now that we have a better understanding of perfectionism, let's take a look at some strategies for reducing the negative traits associated with being a perfectionist. To start, let's review some common negative consequences associated with perfectionism that we want to prevent or change. Perfectionism can reduce overall well-being by causing you to worry about tiny mistakes, creating unnecessary stress. Perfectionism can negatively impact behavior by creating defensiveness in response to suggestions from others. Perfectionism can lead to procrastination, as the right moment or the right conditions are needed to start a project. Perfectionism can create an all-or-nothing mindset, paralyzing progress of a project or a task. Perfectionism can lead to the development of self-loathing by reinforcing the belief of, I'm not good enough. Perfectionism can exacerbate a fear of failure. Perfectionism can lead to being overly judgmental and critical of others. And perfectionism can hold you back from actually excelling. It's important to remember that having high standards is okay, but when these standards impact the enjoyment of your life, it's really time to consider a change. So I want you to consider these questions. When you answer these, it may help you to figure out if your standards are a bit of a problem. Do you have trouble meeting your own standards? Do you often feel frustrated, depressed, anxious, or angry when trying to meet standards? Have you ever been told that your standards are too high? Do your standards get in the way of meeting deadlines or trusting others to help? Answering yes to any of these questions is a good indication that your perfectionism may be a problem. So if you've just determined you may have an issue with perfectionism, now what? Well, let's look at some tools to help you overcome this. There are various strategies and techniques to help perfectionists avoid pitfalls and to learn to find enjoyment in life. The three main areas of change that I'd like to focus on today are changing perfectionistic thinking, changing perfectionistic behaviors, and overcoming procrastination. Perfectionists are often plagued with overly self-critical thoughts. This can also cause perfectionists to have a difficult time seeing things from others' points of view. Additionally, perfectionists get bogged down with the details, which overshadows the big picture. Here are some tools to help achieve a more positive way of thinking. Your thinking needs to be more realistic instead of idealistic. Practice repeating the following affirmative statements. Nobody is perfect. All I can do is my best. Making a mistake does not mean I'm inadequate or a failure. Hey, everyone makes mistakes. To help you take a different perspective and see things from someone else's point of view, practice asking yourself these questions. How might someone else view this situation? Are there other ways to look at this? What would be my advice to a friend having similar thoughts? And the following questions can help keep the big picture in mind. What does it matter? What is the worst that can happen? If the worst does happen, can I survive it? And will this matter tomorrow? Will it matter next week? Will it matter next year? Perfectionistic behavior stems from a fear of making mistakes. Gradually and consistently facing fears is the best way to overcome these negative behaviors. And as crazy as this sounds, I want you to make mistakes purposely. This will help you to play with the feelings that come up, and also try putting yourself in situations you usually would avoid out of fear that things won't work out perfectly. Remember, the goal is to get out of your comfort zone in order to realize the end result isn't a catastrophe when things aren't perfect. So here are some other ideas that you might want to try out. If you're always on time or early, try showing up for an appointment 15 minutes late. How about leave a visible area in your house just a little messy? Try wearing a piece of clothing that has a visible stain on it. Or you can purposely allow several uncomfortable silences to occur during a lunch with a coworker. How about sending an email that includes a few mistakes? Or you can try to talk at a meeting without first rehearsing what you're going to say in your head. And try a new restaurant without first researching the menu or checking out reviews. It'll take time and practice before making mistakes feels a little more comfortable. Be consistent, and remember, having anxiety will be normal. Once you become less rigid, you will feel less anxious over making mistakes. Procrastination is often accompanied by perfectionism because in the perfectionistic mind, if you can't complete something perfectly, it's difficult to even get started. Unfortunately, procrastination tends to make situations worse, and therefore it increases anxiety. So here's some ways to help you to overcome procrastination. Create a realistic schedule. Try to break down a task into small, manageable steps. Set a goal for each step and reward yourself for achieving each goal along the way. Keep in mind the goal is to complete the task, not to make it perfect. Set priorities. Perfectionists can struggle with deciding what they should devote energy and effort into. Prioritize tasks by deciding which are most important to accomplish. And remember, it's okay to not give 100% on every task. And ask for help. Everyone needs help at one time or another. There's no shame in admitting that you're in over your head or that you're simply struggling with one step of a task. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a form of behavioral treatment that helps people problem solve. In this case, perfectionistic behaviors are the problem. CBT can help you see the relationship between beliefs, thoughts, and feelings and subsequent behavior patterns and actions. The process of CBT works by understanding it is a person's perception of events rather than the events themselves that determine how he or she will feel and act. Someone with anxiety often perceives negative outcomes, which is only strengthened when something bad does happen. The negative thoughts will influence outcomes negatively as well. Cognitive behavioral therapists believe that adjusting thoughts can directly influence emotions and therefore behavior. So the process of CBT is based on an educational model used to help people unlearn negative reactions and then learn new positive emotional and behavioral reactions to challenging situations. In order for a cognitive behavioral therapy session to be productive, both the individual and the therapist must be active participants. Treatment is focused on the goals of each session rather than just sitting and talking about whatever comes to mind. There are a number of tools that are utilized by CBT to help people in therapy evaluate their emotional patterns and states. Techniques that are commonly used include journaling, challenging your beliefs, mindfulness and meditation, relaxation, social, physical, and thinking exercises to make a person aware of his or her emotional and behavioral patterns. CBT is perfect for addressing perfectionistic behaviors, especially when dealing with anxiety or compulsion disorders that are associated with perfectionism. One of the more debilitating aspects of perfectionism is the constant need to judge, the judgment of self, others, and every tiny detail. Mindfulness or meditation is a practice dedicated to awareness of the present moment without judgment. Letting go of judgment just might be the key to letting go of perfectionism. Mindful breathing techniques can be really helpful in getting you started. So let's take a moment together and try this short mindful breathing exercise. So just sit back. I'd like you to be comfortable. Follow along. Close your eyes and bring your attention to this present moment. Notice how you're feeling physically. Give acknowledgement to any tightness or tension in your shoulders, your jaw, or any place else that may feel some tension. Now, bring your attention to your breath. Notice the sensation of your breath as you inhale. Notice the feeling of your breath as it goes in through your nostrils, down the back of your throat, and into your chest area. As you breathe, pay attention to the rise and the fall of your chest. Notice the rise and fall of your belly in rhythm with your breath. And now I want you to inhale to the count of 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath to the count of 4, 3, 2, 1. And now exhale to the count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's do that again. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. and just breathe normally. Each time your mind wanders away from your breath, and this will happen many times, notice where it goes. And then gently bring your attention back to the feeling of the breath going in and coming out, inhaling, exhaling, and counting the inhales and the exhales. Now slowly open your eyes. This is a great practice to begin with if mindfulness and meditation is new to you. Start by practicing mindful breathing 5 minutes a day. Find a nice quiet place. Sometimes the quietest places are either in the bathroom or in your car, not while driving. And when it feels comfortable, you can work your way up to 20-minute sessions. So here's a few of my favorite quotes that I thought I'd share with you today. You are imperfect, and you're wired for struggle, but you're worthy of love and belonging. Brene Brown. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Lao Tzu. In today's rush, we all think too much, seek too much, want too much, and forget about the joy of just being. Eckhart Tolle. Do every act of your life as though it were the last act of your life. Marcus Aurelius. So I would recommend that you jot down your favorite quote, whether it be one of these or another, and place it somewhere that you get to look at it every day. My favorite place is to take a Post-it note with a favorite quote and put it on my bathroom mirror. That way, I see it first thing in the morning and start my day with that favorite quote. So we've discussed a ton of information today, and here's a quick summary of steps to take in order to overcome perfectionism. Ditch the negative self-talk. Practice making mistakes. Break up tasks into small, manageable steps and set realistic expectations to help you to avoid procrastination. Prioritize important projects. Keep in mind the big picture instead of getting bogged down by the details. Don't compare yourself to others. And practice living in the moment. I want to thank you for taking the time to experience my class. I love helping people achieve their goals and learn how to be the best version of themselves. I wish you all the very best in your journey toward letting go and toward freeing yourself from perfectionism. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out by emailing me at laura@lauraesummers.com. You'll see it right there on your screen. Feel free to take a screenshot or just jot it down. I'd love to hear from you and also to know what your number one takeaway from this webinar was today. And if you'd like to view it again or share it with someone that you feel would benefit from the information, feel free to share my website with them. It's lauraesummers.com. As a certified integrative life coach, speaker, and trainer, I'm always here to support you along your journey. If you feel that a deeper dive into coaching could be beneficial, or you'd just like to learn more about how personal coaching could be effective so that you can live the life that you've always wanted to live, I'd love to schedule a free 1-hour discovery session with you so that you can explore it further. Just send an email to me at laura@lauraesummers.com with the subject line Discovery Session, and let's get started. Or you can log on to my website to find a time that will work best for you. So thank you for participating today. Thank you for joining me today and sharing your time with me. Together, we can achieve more.